Between being plunged into the unfamiliar place unexpectedly and the change of texture to the cobbled streets caused her to lose her footing and stumble into a young man transporting a cart of dead pigs towards the butcher's shop on the other side of the square. The man was clearly irritated by Cassandra's apparent incompetence to stand upright.
"Watch where you're going,"
he snapped, giving her a stern look as he repositioned himself to get a better grasp of the heavy cart. She managed to steady herself after momentarily looking like a newborn giraffe trying to find its feet. "I am so sorry. I'm looking for Maud Taylor. Please, do you know her?" The man sighed and shook his head. His frustration was still noticeable, but not as strongly as he had displayed in his previous statement.
"You're a bit late, love. Maud's dead. The whole Taylor family's dead."
Cassandra looked up at him, her eyes widening in disbelief. What do you mean? I've just spoken to her. She sent me here." The man's brows knitted together, and confusion spread over his face.
"Sorry to disappoint you. Now, if you don't mind, I have to get back to work. Excuse me."
Before Cassandra had a chance to ask any more questions, a voice roared from the butcher's shop as a well-built man wielding a meat cleaver stepped out into view.
"Oi, boy! Where's that swine?"
After what seemed like a lifetime, her eyes were finally drawn to a familiar figure standing in the distance watching Cassandra's distress unfolding. It was Maud. Quickly hitching up her dress to stop herself from tripping over the long flowing skirt, she made her way over to her. It seemed Maud had helped herself to Cassandra's wardrobe. She was now wearing the yellow jumper and black trousers that Cassandra was wearing just before the sudden transportation. "You're going to stick out like a sore thumb looking like that," Cassandra said. "Oh, I wouldn't worry about that," Maud replied. "As that fine fellow just informed you, I'm dead. I've brought you here 2 weeks after my death. You'll be able to see me, but no one else will. Imagine the panic that would bring about if I was to suddenly rise from the grave," Maud joked as a twisted smile crept over her face. "So how's this going to work? Can you point out who knew you, or what?" Cassandra questioned. "You already know I can't tell you anything. I can watch what you do and be someone to talk to, but other than that you're on your own, I'm afraid," she answered. How exactly Cassandra was going to work out what happened to Maud was still a mystery, but she knew her silence was for good reasons. After all, she didn't want to lose any more fingers. Or worse. They headed off along the crowded street. The amount of people clustered together everywhere they looked made it difficult to see what lay ahead, but the smell of freshly baked bread was drawing nearer. The scent made Cassandra realise that she hadn't eaten anything since the day before, and an uncomfortable feeling of hunger kicked in. Maud soon noticed her discomfort and was quick to offer her assistance. "Check your pockets," she smiled. "I'm pretty sure I had some means of payment with me when I died. It might be enough to get you some bread or something." Without a second thought, Cassandra plunged her hand into one of the 2 pouches on either side of the dress, pulling out a small handful of coins, as she recalled what Maud had just said to her. "Are you telling me these are the clothes you died in?" she said, disgusted. "Jesus Christ, what the hell is wrong with you?" Maud laughed as she watched Cassandra look over the outfit in horror. "I couldn't have you standing out here in the clothes you were wearing, could I?" "Calm down. They were clean before I died." "That doesn't make it any better. You still died in them," Cassandra snarled. "Calm down. Remember, people can't see me. They're gonna think you're talking to yourself," Maud reminded her. "There's a bakery just down this road. My family couldn't afford the fresh produce, but you should have enough there for some bread." Cassandra looked down at the small handful of coins she had plucked from the pocket of the dress. "So your family was poor, yet you walk around with enough money to buy fresh bread? I know you can't tell me anything, but at least tell me you didn't let them starve to death while you ate all the food." Maud was careful with her words. She knew giving away too much would anger the greater entities and would result in a painful punishment for her. "I loved my family. I would never do anything to cause them any harm. That money was given to me after they died." "By who?" Cassandra asked curiously. Waving a hand in a shooing motion, Maud dismissed her words. "No more questions. You know I can't answer them." The gesture managed to silence Cassandra, as finally the bakery came into view. the familiar scent of dough getting stronger on their approach. Maud smiled to herself as she watched a woman standing outside handing over a couple of loaves to one of the passers-by. Cassandra wondered if maybe she was a face from Maud's past. The elegantly dressed lady seemed to be an ideal saleswoman. It sounded as if it would be hard to turn down any of her offerings from the bakery, with her bubbly personality which made the crowd around her smile. Although they were still a few blocks away, the woman's voice travelled quite the distance.
Half a penny, fresh bread straight from our family to yours. No house is a home without bread from the Knox Bakery.
Arriving at the door, they soon realised it was going to be impossible to get inside. The place was packed. The woman kept making an appearance outside, trying to attract yet more customers to the already overcrowded shop. The pair decided it'd be best to wait outside and try to attract her attention, rather than risk being trampled inside. It did take a while, but after 5 trips back and forth from the actual shop, she finally noticed Cassandra, waiting patiently with the coins in her hand.
What is it you're after, my dear? Half a penny gets you half a loaf. That be enough for you?
Any amount of food, no matter what it might have been, sounded good to Cassandra at that moment as her hunger intensified. That sounds great, thank you, she said, dropping a few coins into the woman's hand, unsure of the old currency. Popping the payment into a purple velvet pouch attached to her waist, the saleswoman had a good look at Cassandra as she handed over the bread she was craving.
You're the face of a tailor. Any relation at all?
It did take her a second to remember that Maud's last name was Taylor, but after the realisation that the woman knew the family name, she was hoping she could shine some light on the situation. Yeah, distant relatives of mine, she said. Technically she wasn't lying.
Their death was a shock to everyone here. Many of the boys here knew the family well.
The bread bearer bowed her head sadly, but managed to keep up her positive attitude, even when she was talking about death. I know it's probably a tough subject, but I'm trying to find out what happened to Maud. You wouldn't happen to know anything about her death, would you? Cassandra asked hopefully.
To tell you the truth, not an awful lot really. She always kept herself to herself. Very quiet girl. She was the last one in the family to die. I have to say it was a big shock. No one's seen it coming. She always looked so healthy. People assume it was self-inflicted, but no, apparently it was the same illness. The symptoms are awful to witness, and they're unmistakable. I've seen many people with the signs, but Maud had none. Very odd indeed.
Cassandra turned to look at Maud, who was still standing there in complete silence but listening closely. Yes, odd, Cassandra said with suspicion rising. The woman noticed the amount of people inside the bakery was beginning to dwindle.
Anyway, always a pleasure, my dear. I better see to my other customers, but I hope to see you again soon. Enjoy the bread.
Before any other words could be exchanged, a repeat of the woman's sales tactic erupted into the street once again.
Half a penny of bread straight from our family to yours. No house is a home without bread from the Knox family.